Do you realize that, Sheryl Swoopes, you're insane to do that? Let me tell you why you're insane to do that. Because Sheryl Swoopes, you're one of the greatest players ever in the history of basketball. That's why.
The face of women's basketball couldn't hold back her tears. Sheryl Swoops, the WNBA legend who paved the way for female athletes, just broke down after hearing about Caitlin Clark's groundbreaking LPGA deal. But these weren't tears of joy. What made the three-time MVP and basketball icon so emotional? And why is Clark's latest move sending shockwaves through not just basketball, but the entire sports world? Stay tuned, because this story is bigger than the game itself.
You won a championship in college at Texas Tech. You won 3 Olympic gold medals. You won 4 WNBA championships. You know basketball. You know basketball better than me. You know basketball than any of the pundits. You know basketball better than most of the men that play basketball. There is no way in hell you just accidentally left Caitlin Clark's name out of that soliloquy that you dropped about the Indiana Fever. Stop it.
Let's rewind for a moment. If you don't know Sheryl Swoops, imagine being the Michael Jordan of women's basketball. That's exactly who she was in 1997 when the WNBA was just starting. Swoops became the first player ever signed to the league. She dominated the court, racking up 3 MVP titles and 4 championships. She wasn't just playing basketball, she was redefining what women could achieve in Sheryl's legacy sports.
Cooper to Swoops, cutting free throw line, jumper is good. Weaving through traffic, through 3 players, 4 all the way in. Dishes off to Coop for the bucket. Oh my goodness! And that's no exaggeration when we say they're the WNBA's hottest team. In fact, they have a player tonight in Sheryl Swoops bidding for the first ever triple-double in WNBA history, man. First ever. Rosati's waiting for it, gets to Swoops. Down low, Valdemaro puts up a hook shot and scores! That's it! Valdemaro scores! It's a triple-double for Swoops! The first ever in the history of the WNBA! 3:51 to go. The crowd here on its feet recognizing Sheryl, getting hugs from all her teammates.
The thing about Swoops is that she didn't just play the game, she changed it entirely back in the 90s when most people didn't even know women's professional basketball existed in America. She was out there breaking ankles and dropping 40-0 games like it was nothing. She was so good that Nike gave her a signature show line, the Air Swoops, that might not sound like a big deal now, but back then it was revolutionary. She was only the second athlete after Cheryl Miller to get a women's basketball shoe named after her, but Swoops' impact went beyond the hardwood. She became a symbol of possibility for young girls everywhere. When she stepped onto the court for the Houston Comets, she wasn't just playing for herself or her team, she was playing for every girl who'd ever been told that basketball was a men's sport, and boy did she prove them wrong. Remember that historic triple-double? It was the first one in WNBA history. Swoops put up numbers that made everyone, men and women, stop and take notice. She wasn't just good for a woman, she was simply extraordinary, period. Her crossover was deadly, her defense was suffocating, and her basketball IQ off the charts. But here's the thing about being a pioneer, it's not always glamorous. Swoops played in an era when WNBA players had to go overseas during the off-season just to make a decent living. The endorsement deals were few and far between, and the media coverage, well, let's just say it was minimal at best. She was fighting battles on and off the court, pushing for better pay, more recognition, and respect for the women's game. Fast forward to today, and there's a new name making headlines. Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever rookie, has been breaking records left and right, playing with a style that's been compared to Steph Curry. But it's not just her on-court performance that's turning heads. Clark just made history by signing an unprecedented deal with GameBridge, the presenting sponsor of one of LPGA's biggest tournaments.
To offer her to join.
Now you're trying to get me in trouble. No.
You know, just little numbers.
I can't give numbers, obviously, but I mean, I can tell you substantially more than what she's making in the WNBA. I do think she needs to be paid fairly, and we would be offering her a fair compensation.
For this is where the story gets really interesting. Clark isn't just any rookie. She came into the WNBA with the kind of hype usually reserved for NBA superstars. During her college career at Iowa, she was doing things that seemed impossible. We're talking about pulling up from the logo like it's a free throw, making passes that would make Magic Johnson proud, and putting up numbers that had statisticians double-checking their spreadsheets. But what makes Clark different isn't just her skill, it's Her ability to capture people's attention when she plays arenas sell out, when she speaks people listen, and when she makes a move whether on or off the court everyone takes notice. She's not just a basketball player, she's become a cultural phenomenon. Think about this before Clark. When was the last time you saw people camping outside an arena to watch a women's basketball game? When was the last time you saw regular season WNBA games getting prime time coverage? Clark hasn't just entered the league. She's transformed it. The numbers don't lie. Since Clark joined the Indiana Fever, their home games have become the hottest ticket in town. We're talking about attendance increases of over 200%, in some cases TV ratings through the roof, social media engagement off the chart. She's doing for the WNBA what few thought possible, making it must-see TV. But here's where things get complicated. Success like this often comes with criticism, and Clark's rise hasn't been without its skeptics. Some say she's overhyped, others suggest her success is more about marketing than merit. And then there's Swoops, whose relationship with Clark's success story is well complicated. You see, Swoops has been watching all of this unfold from a unique perspective. As someone who fought tooth and nail for every bit of recognition women's basketball received, seeing Clark walk into the league and immediately get opportunities that weren't available to players of her generation, it's bound to stir up some emotions. When Clark first entered the WNBA, Swoops made some comments that raised eyebrows. She questioned whether Swoops' reaction Clark's game would translate to the pro level. She wondered aloud if the attention Clark was receiving was warranted. Some saw it as jealousy, others as tough love from a veteran who knows how hard the pro game can be. And so I think just having fun and like getting to be with two of the best probably ever play this game. It's super fun and special for me. Like, I'm a fan of both of them, but a fan of all the women on this tour. I think it's absolutely incredible. So it's special for myself. I've tried to practice as much as I can. I'm just the average golfer, going to hit some good, going to hit some bad. It is what it is, just going to try not to hit anyone or standing outside the ropes. But then came this LPGA deal and it changed everything. This wasn't just another endorsement. This was something entirely new. A basketball player, a rookie no less, signing a major deal with a golf organization. It was unprecedented. The reported value of the deal in the millions, the kind of money that Swoops and her generation could only dream about. The deal itself is fascinating. Gamebridge, the presenting sponsor of one of LPGA's biggest tournaments, saw something in Clark that transcended basketball. They saw a star who could attract new audiences, break down barriers between sports, and possibly change the way people think about women's athletics altogether. And it's working. Since the announcement, ticket sales for the LPGA tournament have skyrocketed. The Golf Channel has had to adjust its entire programming schedule to accommodate the interest in Clark's participation. Social media has been buzzing with golf fans and basketball fans alike, all eager to see how Clark will perform on the golf course. This brings us to that moment, the moment when Swoops heard about the deal. She was on Gil's Arena podcast, a show known for its unfiltered basketball talk. When the host brought up Clark's LPGA deal, Swoops went quiet. For someone known for her strong opinions, this silence spoke volumes. When she finally spoke, her voice cracked with emotion. This wasn't the confident, assertive Swoops we were used to seeing. This was someone processing a massive shift in the landscape she helped create. I never thought I'd see the day, she said, tears welling up in her eyes. The reaction to Swoops' emotional moment has been mixed. Some see it as a powerful recognition of how far women's sports have come, a pioneer witnessing the fruits of her labor, even if those fruits are being enjoyed by someone else. Others view it more critically, suggesting that Swoops' tears reveal a deeper struggle with Clark's success. But maybe both perspectives miss the point. Maybe this moment isn't about Swoops versus Clark at all. Maybe it's about the broader story of progress in women's sports, about how each generation builds on the achievements of those who came before them. Think about it. Swoops fought battles that made Clark's opportunities possible. She played in empty arenas so Clark could play in sold-out ones. She took minimal endorsement deals so future players could sign multimillion-dollar contracts. She helped build the foundation that Clark and others are now building upon. And yet progress isn't always comfortable, even for those who fought for it. Watching someone achieve things you never thought possible in your sport, things you fought for but never got to experience yourself, that's bound to bring up complex emotions. It doesn't make Swoops any less of a pioneer, and it doesn't diminish Clark's achievements either. The LPGA deal represents something bigger than just another endorsement. It's a sign of how women's sports are evolving. When Clark steps onto that golf course, she's not just playing a round of golf. She's showing that female athletes can transcend their primary sports. She's proving that women's sports aren't just about competition. They're about entertainment, influence, and breaking barriers. Let's talk about what this means for the future of women's sports. Traditionally, female athletes have been boxed into their respective sports. Basketball players stuck to basketball, golfers to golf, and so on. The opportunities for crossover appeal were limited, but Clark's deal with the LPGA is changing that narrative completely. The numbers from Clark's first LPGA appearance tell an incredible story. The tournament saw a 300% increase in ticket sales for the prom day. Media credentials, they had to cap them because of overwhelming demand. The Golf Channel even adjusted its programming schedule, starting their coverage 90 minutes earlier than usual just to capture Clark's entire round. But here's what's really fascinating. It's not just golf fans showing up. People who've never watched golf before are buying tickets. Parents are bringing their kids not just to watch golf, but to see Caitlin Clark. She's bringing a whole new audience to women's golf, just like she did for women's basketball. And this is exactly Clark's impact. What makes some people uncomfortable change always does. When Clark first picked up a golf club at the prom event, there were skeptics. She's not a golfer. They said she's taking attention away from real golf. Professionals sound familiar? It's the same kind of criticism women face whenever they try to break new ground. This takes us back to Swoopes' emotional reaction during that podcast appearance. After her initial tear, she started asking